Hello there.
Hey.
It's your interview. Run it.
Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Heidi with the Crypto Tips channel. We are here with Richard Hart at the AI VC Summit in Malta, AI Blockchain Summit, and I just want to get your thoughts on this conference. This is one of my first crypto conferences.
Right.
I can't even call it a crypto conference, really.
Right.
But yeah, so I have some thoughts on it, but I'd like to hear what you think.
I think that the blockchain and AI don't have anything to do with each other, but I'm okay with that. I mean, AI and blockchain don't have anything to do with beaches, but there's a beach here, so I can deal with it. It's fun to go to these events because the normal public, when you say things about the blockchain, they look at you like you're crazy. Mm-hmm. And here, when you say things about blockchain, they clap and want to talk to you after.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
it's nice to be around. It's nice to be in a bubble, an echo chamber.
Yeah.
It's a nice, warm feeling.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, my first impressions were seeing everyone in suits and ties and doing PowerPoint presentations.
Right.
I love your outfit today. That's what I was fully expecting and hoping to see here. Maybe I need to go to more like Bitcoin or crypto focused conference for that. But yeah, so also just, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer here, but it's like not a whole lot of talk of disruption, a lot of talk of permission blockchains, regulations, closed source even.
Yeah.
So I feel like this is kind of the mainstream version of blockchain.
So what we have here is sampling bias. So basically, when you come to an event that costs you money to present at and money to get to, then the people that attend that event are people that are going to make money from it. So if you're in a truly decentralized system, if you're an open source cryptocurrency developer, you aren't making any money because you aren't getting paid. You're volunteering, it's free. And so you wouldn't come to one of these things for the most part. And so the people that you would care about most, the developers and the auditors and maybe even the regulators, none of those guys is making money coming to an event. And so they just don't. And so what you end up with at a lot of events is startups, businesses, people that are looking to make something bigger, and they wear suits and they talk about permission and they talk about a lot of stuff that's not crypto because they're the only guys that can afford to buy tickets. So it's kind of you're always going to have this type of filter, which gives you more of a corporate feel and a corporate vibe at any event that has a higher ticket price and a far off jurisdiction that you have to fly to get there. If you want more of a grassroots, smaller, more affordable, you'll see some students there kind of thing, then it has to be somewhere near them, so it's not that expensive to get there, and the tickets shouldn't cost too much. And then, you could talk about whatever bag of currency you like the most, and it's, there's an upside and downside to it. So we get a beach, but we don't have any little dudes, and then if you want to hang out with little dudes, it's, no beach. I guess unless you live in California, right?
Yeah, so another kind of trend that we're seeing in the crypto space, at least bringing it back to that, is the kind of sacrifice that are having to be made for this mass adoption. Like we're seeing third parties being, seen as necessary, so that's kind of sacrificing your security. Privacy coins are being, again, labeled as only for criminals or tax evaders. So what else do you think needs to be sacrificed for this mass adoption?
Well,
or is
you're sacrificing it, but you're not actually getting anything in return. So crypto is designed to get rid of counterparties and give you personal sovereignty over your finances. And so now what we've done is we've made exchanges the new banks. And now the exchanges are the only people who can afford to advertise because they beat you up with fees. And we basically just got rid of something old, and now we're recreating the new right on top of it. So people use stable coins that have a bank behind it, which we're trying to get rid of. We're trying to get rid of the banks. So now all you did was you took a bank and put an extra guy between the bank account and you, and so now you're just even in a worse legal position against the bank, right? So now you can't even sue them. You don't have a relationship with the bank. The bank can screw you through the other guy, and then now you got to complain to that guy. So just adding counterparties and adding risk to a cryptocurrency system makes it worse, not better. And so I created a project called HEX.win, HEX, and we replace the counterparties with a smart contract so that you don't have to use an exchange to get a return on your money. You just lock your money up and you get the return directly without the exchange. So there's no order book to screw you. There's no fees to screw you. There's no middleman to exit scam you. It's trustless interest. Like if you're given programmable money, the first program should be interest. If you go to your bank and you look at what the top 3 products are, checking account, savings account, time deposit, certificate for deposit, no one's doing that in crypto. If you want to replace all the crappy banksters in the world with open source software or peer-to-peer trusted software, someone's got to write it. Someone's got to develop it. And right now, what can you do with Bitcoin? You can send it, you can receive it. Do you use multisig? No. Do you use time locking? No. Do you use Lightning? No. Okay, well what, you can't, I got in 2011. It's been around since 2009. We've had it for over 10 years now. When are we going to get the new features? We're not going to get any new features. It's too spread out now, right? So if you time lock your Bitcoin, you just can't spend them. You don't get any reward. There's no profit for you, so no one does it. With our project, we give these coins for free to Bitcoin holders. If you have Bitcoin, you can get free HEX. You get 10,000 HEX for each Bitcoin that you have. You can have 1 Satoshi and claim a Satoshi. So we're giving free money to those guys to get rid of all the counterparties that steal everyone's money, and in margin trading too. They give you 100x margin so that you can trade 100 times more money than you really have, so that you can pay 100 times more fees than you would have otherwise paid.
Oh, that's interesting.
And then your bank account gets emptied quicker because it multiplies the house advantage against you. It's like going to the blackjack table and playing every hand on the table. The house loves that because now they just made that much times more money against you because the odds are in their favor. So I'm trying to get people to stop trading, stop adding counterparties like you say, and someone has to build it, so I built it. There's not many other projects. There's no other blockchain CD that doesn't exist. $7.2 trillion market in the United States and China, just unaddressed. No one's doing it. Well, I'm doing it now, right? So I think it's interesting that the thing that you said is the biggest problem that was on your mind, just also happens to be the thing that I'm solving, except anonymity. I'm not addressing that.
Yeah.
So in Ethereum, if you want anonymity, there's a website called Tornado.cash that Vitalik tweeted about. So it looks, like an Ethereum mixer. You send money in, and then it comes out anonymous on the other side. Cool, great. If you want anonymous money in ETH, go ahead and use that. So some people might want to use that in HEX. We give you free coins if you have Bitcoin at the snapshot. Should be this month or next. And if you don't have Bitcoin and you still want to get in, you can transform Ethereum into HEX. Every day there's 2 buckets. There's a bucket of HEX and there's an empty bucket. And people put money into the empty bucket. If you're 10% of the Ethereum bucket, you get 10% of the HEX. They empty out and the new day starts again. You know where I learned that cool idea? EOS. They raised $4.2 billion doing that. $4.2 billion.
Yeah.
That's more money than Satoshi made. That's more money than Vitalik made. That's more money than Brian Armstrong and Coinbase made. It's more money than Arthur BitMEX made. It's more money than almost everyone in crypto's made combined. So yeah, I thought that was a pretty good idea. I thought, because think about it. Now you can onboard the whole planet without begging an exchange to list you. Oh, please list us and screw all our customers and lose all their data and email each customer 1,000 extra emails like BitMEX just did.
Yeah, and
right?
it's exposed.
So now, and if you've got multiple BitMEX accounts that started with a different letter, now you've got several thousand emails from every one of those email addresses. Just crypto is like a shit show. It's not crypto, it's people that are using it. Crypto is good, right? Ethereum never lost anyone's money. But people that built on top of Ethereum lost people's money because they didn't code it properly. That's why in HEX we have 3 audits. We have 2 different auditing companies that have 3 audits. One for the economics that shows longer always pays better. So you won't make more money trying to short stake and recompound. You'll always make more money staying longer because we have a share price. So if you get out, it looks at how much money you made and makes sure that if you get in, you always get less shares. And then if someone else, you can't game the system because it sets the share price to the highest ROI anyone's ever received. So if some guy did a 10x, that means the share price is 10x higher, and it's awesome. I invented that. It's similar to net asset value system if you Google it, but when you do the math, you can't use bonuses with net asset value. So when you buy a mutual fund in the States, that's a net asset value system. You put money in, and they give you a percentage, they give you shares, and then when you get out, they calculate what percentage of shares you have. And so on your exit, it's really like a percentage-based system. And you can't use bonuses with the percentage-based system, so I invented that thing that lets you do it. So when you get in, if you get in the first day, you get 20% extra coins. If you don't get in the first day, you start bleeding your coins. And we give them to the people that believed and staked. So while you're sitting there bleeding, right, because you wanted to be lazy, you didn't want to learn about the project, right, And same with the whales. If you're a whale, we'll cut your stack by 75%. You only have 25% left if you have over 10,000 coins. If you have over 1,000 coins, you get 50% cut.
So you can't be a whale, is that what you're
You
saying?
can be a whale in HEX, but if you're a Bitcoin whale before the snapshot, you will get annihilated. If you're an exchange that uses multi-sig, you can't claim. If you're Mt. Gox, you can't claim. We just removed it from the UTXO side. You're not allowed to. Why do we do that? Because we want the little guys to have a chance. Because if, like, Bitcoin Cash was given 200,000 Bitcoin Cash to the Mt. Gox trustee, who legally can only sell them. So he already sold 40,000 of his Bitcoin and 40,000 of his Bitcoin Cash, about 38,500 or something like that, 38,500. How was giving that guy a bunch of free money so that he could dump it on the believers' heads good for the world or good for anybody? And you know who's going to get that money? Mark Karpelis, that fucked it all up. The guy that fucked everyone is going to get that money. So I'm like, God damn, it's retarded, right? So there's so many things we could do better. So I solved the whales dumping on you. And you can't surprise dump because we have a chart of future market supply. We know when the stakes are expiring. So we can look at the chart, and if I'm going to end my stake, I'm going to end it when other people aren't. So it reduces volatility. And since you know what the future market supply is, like, you don't know when Satoshi's going to dump his coins. He's got 1 million coins. Maybe his kid's an asshole. Maybe the kid's the keys. And if he said, I'm not going to dump, you wouldn't believe him. And if he said he was going to dump, you wouldn't believe him. Because why would he tell you that, right? But in our system, you get paid to tell the truth. It's called a truth engine. I got a bunch of cool buzzwords for every, like,
everything.
Yeah, I got Gox Me Not, truth engine, longer pays better, bigger pays better. You know, we are all Satoshi. So when we take everyone else's coins and give them to the people that did claim, we call it we are all Satoshi because he's unlikely to claim, right? He's most likely deceased. Alive people spend their money at some point. You can't be 10 years and not spend a nickel or even write an improvement proposal. I don't think Satoshi's still around. So, yeah, I think this solves trustless interest. I think it solves the counterparty problem. Mad gains. We use the same advertising tactics Ponzi schemes use. We've got a referral program. We're showing you hundreds of percent of return in HEX, right? And I'm just describing the math to you. I don't know what the USD value is going to do. I know what a lot of shittier coins did for USD value. Wow. Yeah. So if the shit can do that, imagine what something amazing can do. Yeah, like I'm really super psyched about it. I'm really super happy about it.
So it's not an exchange.
Nope.
And it's all like within this platform. I haven't.
It's an ERC20.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're on platform. You're in wallet.
Well, I mean, we wrote all the code, and we used ERC20 as a base. And I thought it would be easy. I thought, oh, just gonna hack up an ERC20, throw a little math on it. No problem, easy, right? Yeah. Nightmare hard.
Okay.
Nightmare hard. Like, oh, it's so hard. First off, Solidity is a terrible language. It's absolutely horrible. You can't use fractions in it. It's all integer math. And then you have to worry about precision. Like, if you divide one number by another number, it's nightmare. Like, Solidity is so bad, which is why they're trying to replace it. Like, Vitalik wrote a new thing called Serpent. Now they've got another new thing, different smart contract languages. So, why do we use ERC20? Let me tell you how good ERC20 is. Every coin that's ever launched as Bitcoin has failed terribly. There was 2 projects that allowed you to put tokens on top of Bitcoin. One was called Omni and used Keller coins, and one was called CounterParty. I met the founders of that at a trade show in 2013. So, and they burned 2,000 Bitcoin to launch. Can you imagine burning 2,000 Bitcoin? You got to be stupid to burn money. Those could have been advertisements. Those could have been developers. You just fucking burnt it. You are retarded. Do not burn your money. They're very stupid, right? So, those 2 projects, if you look at the price charts, they're very old coins now. They just die constantly. Versus BTC, just total death. And none of the projects that launched on top of those platforms did any well either. Like Pepe Cash was okay for a while, and then it died. Now look at ERC20s. Those Omni tokens are what Tether used to run on. And Tether does more volume than any other currency in crypto, literally. Now, I would have never expected that. But that's what the market wants. The market wants stablecoins. Yeah. Fuck, okay, well, I don't like the dollar, but you guys like the worse than dollar, right? Yeah. You get all of the suck of the inflation of the dollar, plus all of the counterparty risk. Yeah. Okay, you guys want that? So be it. I would have never predicted it, but that's what people want. So, those transactions now have been moved from Omni, which was on Bitcoin, to Ethereum on ERC20 tokens, and there's something like 30 to 50% of all Ethereum transactions now, or Tether transactions. Wow. So they've launched Tether on EOS and TRX and Bitcoin and ERC20, and the ERC20 is by far the largest portion of them because they moved them over because Bitcoin transactions are slow and expensive. Yeah. And Ethereum transactions are fast, and I believe more trustworthy and more secure. So people will say, the reason we use ERC20 is because BNB launched on it, multi-billion-dollar project. TRX launched on it, multi-billion-dollar project. EOS launched on it, multi-billion-dollar project. Ethereum uses it, multi-billion-dollar project. Something like 4 or 5 of the top 10 cryptos use ERC20 or started there, right? So TRX had got a mainnet, and EOS got a mainnet, and BNB switched to their own Tendermint chain. It's like if you want to launch your own blockchain, you can just copy these guys' stuff. They support it. So if we have an ecosystem that gives you trustless transactions, they can't roll the chain back again, or they would for parity, and they would for some of the other guys that got hacked. They're not rolling it back for them. They're not rolling it back for anybody. Those are insiders. You can't get more inside than those guys. Gavin Wood wrote Solidity, and they're not rolling it back to the chain form. So, so we've got the most audits on an ecosystem that's proven it can handle billions of dollars, that is proven to be better than Bitcoin for transactions, which is why Tether was shifted off of Omni onto ERC20. It's 100% the right place to be. And if it turns to shit and starts to suck, that Solidity contract will work on 10 other blockchains because they all support Solidity. So
what about the other there's ERC20, which is like the most. There's also like ERC721 and like
yeah,
the different...
people think that higher number equals better, and it's not true.
Okay.
So ERC20 has the most audits and the most money that's been run through it, and plugs in the most places.
Okay.
So, like for instance, ERC721, all it does is it's an ERC20, but it also allows you to like empty out extra tokens your contract might have received. So like usually when you make a contract, it supports the one token that's named in the contract. So like we have a HEX contract, okay? So if you send HEX to the HEX contract, it works good. And if you send Ethereum to the HEX contract, it works good. But if you send some other random ERC20 to the HEX contract, it gets inaccessible, no one can ever access it again.
Yeah, it's like lost.
And so all ERC721 does, it makes those tokens that people accidentally send recoverable.
Okay.
I'm not reducing the security model of my cryptocurrency to try and recover the 0.0001% of random money that people might have lost sending it to that contract. It's stupid. Like it's a bad decision. So ERC721 is definitely not better. Unless, so I may have mixed the numbers up. 721 might be their collectibles coin that's meant to do non-fungible tokens, which like this token represents this baseball card, and it's unlike this other token.
That's it, actually,
right, so the 721 might be the collectibles one, and then ERC223 might be the upgrade of the ERC20. The numbers are kind of funky. Their EIP numbering is very weird. Like they need to give them animal names like Ubuntu does, you know, like Lazy Linus or whatever, just random name, right?
Visuals.
Well, it gives you a mnemonic to help remember these things, right? So, like they just released EIP 1884, which increased the cost of some transactions. I don't want to remember that dumbass number. Like I'm tired of remembering all these numbers. So ERC20 actually is the premier best way to do secure transactions. And if you want to do weird stuff like collectibles or recover some tiny amount of funds with higher security risks, then you could use those other weird numbers. I'm not beta testing some new garbage. You know, a lot of people will put their life savings into this, so we're not playing games with the security.
What do you think of Ethereum if it ever goes to proof of stake?
It could work. It could work. So security is only as useful. Security is a cost, and it's only a cost that you recover the value from if you're being attacked or if you're preventing attacks. But if no one was ever going to attack you anyway, you just wasted a lot of money with security, right? So if you live in the middle of nowhere, no one knows where you live, you don't really need to bother locking your door. Because no one knows where you live, right? So, if proof of stake, I think proof of stake can work. It's just a complicated Rube Goldberg type of game theory thing, which is experimental, and it may never launch, right? So it may work, it may not. It's a lottery ticket. Like if all the cool scaling stuff that they're building, and one thing I just heard of, this optimistic rollups, which is too hard to explain to you, but basically it lets you turn the throughput of the Ethereum blockchain into 500 transactions per second now on chain. So with optimistic rollups, apparently you can 100x the throughput of Ethereum now. And it's got working demos now, and nobody knows about it. And I only know about it because my friend Eric Wall told me about it last night.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because he's on the cutting edge of consensus, So, because that shit's not worth any money, so I stopped learning about it. Like, I could become an expert in the cutting edge of consensus technologies, but you can't make money on it. So, like, increasing the throughput of Ethereum 100x, I love that idea as a user of it. But actually learning about how it works and then, you know, maybe one day it doesn't work. It's just, I don't want to waste my time doing that shit anymore. Like if I understand how Lightning works even better, I already know how it works more than well enough. Understanding how it works even better would just sacrifice time. Like I would be wasting my time doing that. I should be doing outreach, speaking to people like you, and popularizing important ideas that a lot of people have never heard of about, right? Like counterparty risk and trustless interest, and you know why ERC20 is so good, why it's better than those other random numbers. No one else explains those things. Like it doesn't exist, right? So if I'm the only guy explaining some ideas, or like how leverage is horrible for you and multiplies the house advantage against you, I'm the only guy saying that. Other people are like 100x is stupid. They don't tell you why. They probably don't understand why, right? How are we doing on time? All right.
Okay.
So every 30, I got to restart it because, you know, camera.
Fun. Okay.
You should too, actually. I think yours will stop at 30 as well. Because we're both shooting Sony cameras. Watch.
Yeah. Okay. Trying to think of.
So we covered security.
Yeah.
We covered, you know, people here being kind of corporate. I told you about why I think HEX is so awesome. I got to tell you another trick. So you're a YouTuber.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you a way to make 40% on your followers.
Okay.
You listen to this, followers? Listen good. If someone claims their free HEX through your referral link, you get 20% on top, and they get a 10% bonus for clicking your link.
Oh, nice.
Then, after they've got their free claim money, you can say, you know what? You like that? How about this? Turn your Bitcoin into Ethereum, send it to the adoption amplifier, put it in those buckets that empty out. They get another 10% bonus, you get another 20%. So off that initial energy, that's 40%.
What if when you put Ethereum in and it doesn't constitute, you're not 10%? What happens?
Then you just get less.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you mean, okay. Oh, hold on. So if you're the only, so day one, there will be 1 billion HEX in the HEX bucket.
Okay.
And all the other days, it just gives out the unclaimed coins.
Okay.
So every day after, it looks at how many coins are unclaimed, and it gives 1/350th of it for 350 days.
For everyone who doesn't claim.
Right, so if someone doesn't claim their coins,
it gets like
right, and it's really more than the unclaimed coins, because 2/3 of coins can't claim, because we remove the multi-sig and we penalize the whales. So when you do the math, about 2/3 of coins can't claim.
Okay.
So 2/3 of those free claims are going to be given to the stakers. Then they get multiplied by adoption bonuses. If 100% of the people can claim, it'll get 3x'd. So the more people that join after you, it amplifies the rewards for the early guys. It inflates the currency to pay everybody. Yeah. So if you are the only person to put money into the Ethereum bucket that day, you'll get 1 billion HEX. You'll get like an absolutely. So I think the supply is going to be in between 600 and 800 billion at the end. We chose that number. It's very easy to change because I could give you the 10,000 base and just change the base and move the number wherever I want, right?
Okay.
So I like that. I want to stay under $1 trillion.
Okay.
So if you're the only person to put money in the bucket, you get all of the coins. So the value, the ratio that you get is set by the market. It depends on how many other people want them, and it depends on how much they put in. Now, I think people are going to FOMO over the first day, because I looked at the EOS chart, and I could give this to you, and I could give this to you guys at home, and I'm going to put it on the website. I have a chart of how much the EOS guys got every day, how much ETH they got for their EOS tokens every day, and it's really the best kind of data that I have for what an adoption curve might look like over time. But I mean, there's a lot of variables that go into this, right? Like, what was the EOS retail price at the time, and how was the market overall, and what was the Ethereum price at the time, and how was Bitcoin dominance? And I mean, so it's data and it's useful, and I think most people will over FOMO the first day. So first day we're gonna have 1 billion tokens handed out. Next day probably about 500 million, right? And then it gets less as more people claim, which helps the price go up because now there's less supply, right? So this thing is designed. It's got Pumpamentals. If you want my referral link, go to Pumpamentals.com, and it's gonna be fucking awesome. Those guys made 4.2 billion making a token that just has higher throughput and has default judgments that just take your coins by design in the blockchain. The EOS people have taken coins from people and give them to other people.
Yeah, if it's an inactive wallet or,
So that's not the crypto that I want, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Those guys got 4.2 billion for that. Our project addresses a $7.2 trillion market, time deposits, which is much larger than the market that they address. Like, what is really the market for higher throughput blockchain? It ain't 7.2 trillion, right? So I think that we could do larger numbers than they did. However, they did have an ad in Times Square, so I don't have an ad in Times Square. So we'll see how that works out.
Yeah. Wow, that's a lot to take in.
Yeah, it's a lot. And I'm sure I'm leaving some stuff out too. Like, there's a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah.
The share price that never goes down, it only goes up. You want to hear about that one?
Okay.
Imagine the chart of a share price that only goes up. It sounds impossible. It sounds like a Ponzi scheme, right? That's awesome. We want it to look like a Ponzi scheme. We want to promise you mad gains. But mathematically, all it is compounding the early guy's interest. So if you're an early guy and we want longer to pay better, we have to stop you from getting out and reinvesting your interest, and getting out and reinvesting your interest, and getting out and reinvesting your interest, because you're spamming up the blockchain. So instead of spamming up the blockchain, giving you more and more shares, we just reduce the shares from the new guys, and then the percentages work the same. So I could either keep giving you more and give that guy the same, or I could leave you and give him less, and your ratios equal out. So it's mathematically equivalent.
Okay.
So when I have a share price that keeps going up, all I'm really doing is compounding the interest for the early guys. So it's that magic. It's not magic, but it looks a hell of a lot better on a price chart, right? So I got a price that only goes up. Oh, you want to end stake? Okay, you know when you get back in, you're gonna get less shares. Do you want less shares? Oh, if you lock longer, you get 3 extra shares. So if you lock up to 10 years, you can lock up to 15 probably, but if you lock to 10, the bonus max out. But even though the bonus is maxed out, if you don't lock longer, when you restake, you get so much less shares because the price is going to be so much higher. Like, I mean, the models that I see, a 5x or a 10x the first year is very reasonable if you're a staker. It's based on how many other people stake. Did you know that when you claim your coins are locked for a year, you can't dump them? You can dump 10%. Why do we do that? How do you make the price go up? Don't let people sell.
Yeah.
That's what they do in companies. When you're in a startup, they give you a vesting period where you can't sell your shares.
Yeah.
Every startup does that. Why? Because it works in real finance. So CDs time lock your money, give you extra interest in the real world. Startups give you a vesting period that blocks your interest and blocks your profits in the real world. And we're just taking real world things that work and putting them on the blockchain. It's a no-brainer. Like, I know these topics. I know these things work because they are the majority of the value in Silicon Valley and in banks. There's more money in time deposits than there is in cash. It's huge.
So like, who makes these decisions of like how everything is designed?
I designed everything.
You, okay.
Yeah. Now some things a community, like AutoStaking was a community idea.
Okay.
And I was like, shit, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Like,
how do you communicate? Is there like a platform?
it's all literally, there's a piece of code. So in Bitcoin, code lives on GitHub, gets turned into an exe, and people run it.
Yeah.
In our system, code lives in an address on the blockchain, and then people can run it if they mine their own blocks, or if they pay someone a fee, a penny or two, to mine the block.
Okay.
And it all just lives there, and it's safer. Bitcoin has had 2 inflation bugs where they printed infinite coins. One, they had to roll back the chain, they printed 6 million coins, and the other was caught by a Bitcoin Cash developer who could have exploited it, but instead disclosed it.
Yeah.
What a nice guy,
Yeah.
right? Ethereum's never had any inflation bugs, and our consensus code is locked in a smart contract where you can't accidentally fuck it up. That second inflation bug was caused by someone improving the networking stack, getting rid of latency, and then introduced a print all you want free money bug because it's spaghetti code, it's not modular. So because ours is modular and our consensus code lives in a smart contract, it's safer than Bitcoin.
Okay.
The only real problems Bitcoin's ever had are those inflation bugs, and our contract prevents that. You can't change it, you can't rewrite it. There's no voting, it just lives there. You can run it or not.
Okay.
And that's how we get around being a security as well. You mint your own coins, just like Bitcoin. In Bitcoin, when you mine, your computation matches the rules of the network, you printed your own coins. In our system, when your computation matches the rules of the network, you mint your own coins. I can't do it for you. You're the only one that has a private key. No one else in the world can mint your coins for you but you. You're doing the work. Well, the Howey test says that you have to give money to a pool with the expectation of profit solely from the work of others. Well, I don't know about solely from the work of the others when you're the only person in the entire world that can mint your reward and mint your coins. So, don't have to be a security, right? I also don't promise you any work. So when you say, hey, what happens to all that Ethereum that goes to the contract? You'll get no benefit from it. Don't ask. You're not going to get any benefit from it because I don't want you to get benefit because that's another leg of the Howey test, right? Okay. So you need to fail all 4 to be a security, and we've got 2 strong bases to fail 2 of them. We should be good.
What do you think of? I read recently like Kraken and BitMEX and a few other exchanges are trying to do their own analyst, or trying to analyze and try to label coins that will be securities.
I think that that's actually a good idea.
Yeah.
So, when you have, if it should be legal for people, how much longer do we got?
Let's restart it now.
Well, this